Welcome, everybody, to Mindset Monday. I'm your host, Denise Zach. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I have an amazing show and an amazing guest for you today, and I'm so excited to dive in with him and just literally and figuratively, as you'll find out in just a minute. But I just want to tell you a little bit about this podcast first. If you haven't tuned in before, uh, I am a mindset coach. I have worked for 20 years as a therapist, and this podcast is about getting into those 6 inches in between your ears. So often we look at people who are doing amazing things. We see how successful they are. We see all the amazing things that we're doing, and we think, wow, that must have happened overnight, or they have it so easy, or everything has just been wonderful for them. And we don't really see the struggle that goes along sometimes with becoming successful. And also we don't see the challenges that occur and how people overcome them. That's what I want to get into. I want to talk to people about how they do that for themselves and how they help other people to overcome their own challenges. So that's what this podcast is all about. This podcast is part of the Game Plan U community. If you haven't heard about that, www.gameplanu.org. And that is an organization that helps sports tech innovation and wellness founders to get support, build community, to network, to get funding, to meet with other founders who are doing similar things in the world, and we help them to really come together. We also bring executives and residents in with our founders to help guide them, to mentor them, and sometimes invest in them. We also bring in college students or people reinventing their careers who are looking to make their way in the sports industry, the sports tech industry, and really don't know exactly what they want to do. So we immerse them in with our founders with one-off projects to build their resume, to build their network as well. And so it's an amazing community. If you haven't looked into it, again, check us out at gameplanu.org. I am so excited to bring on my guest today, David Karasek. He's founder of the Tribe of Athletes, which is a mindset coaching business, and he helps athletes to bring their A game. I know he also does executive coaching and has worked with people all around the world. He's coming to us all the way today from from Switzerland, excuse me. And I'm so excited to have him here so he can tell us about his life. He's also a former Swiss national team member. He was at the 2012 Olympics. He's a national champion. He's a 10-time champion, and he holds records and in swimming, and he's just done such amazing things. So he knows what it is to be an athlete. He knows what it is to have challenges, to how to stay focused, how to overcome barriers. And so without further ado, I'm going to bring on David Karasek. David, welcome.
Hi, Denise. Thanks for having me on. Excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. Thanks so much for tuning in and coming here. And thank you, everyone, who's joining us. If you have questions along the way, please don't hesitate to ask. I'll throw them out to David, and we'll get those questions answered. So, David, if you can tell us a little bit about what you do, how you got into the Tribe of Athletes, and what quantum sports psychology is. I'd love for our listeners to hear about that and learn about that. So tell us.
Sure. Cool. I mean, look, the truth of the whole story is that when I was swimming, I was painfully unaware of anything that was going on regarding mindset, right? Because it was almost a time when you went to see a sports psychologist, people would talk badly about you, and it was more, oh, I have a problem, I gotta see somebody, right? And things changed. So I was done with swimming when I was 26, went into corporate banking here in Switzerland, and I was unfulfilled. And I couldn't recreate the success that I had in swimming in the corporate world. And then I changed the bank, and the same thing happened again. And it dawned on me at the time then that maybe, just maybe, it's not everybody else's fault, but maybe it's me, because the pattern came again and again, right? So, and then at the time, I met somebody who started to introduce me to the power of, as he put it so nicely, between what's between our ears. And basically what he suggested, after a couple of interesting things that he said, he's like, well, we can create the life that we love. And I sat there and I was like, well, what if that guy is right? Because what if, right? And then that's when I started reading books, and that's how I got into this. And I just saw, well, I could coach executives, but also my heart beats for sport. And I think with sport, we have this beautiful, it's a platform to inspire other people, to inspire like kids, like whole nations. I mean, like there's players that inspire whole nations, right? Or the whole world even.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's, yeah.
And that was it. And that's what led you to what you do. So tell us how you work with athletes. What is it, can you walk me through the strategy that you have when you're working with an athlete, and where do you think that they struggle the most when you say that their mindset isn't necessarily set up for success?
Yeah. So for me, when the athletes come to me, the problem that they have is that they don't perform under pressure, or not as well as they would like, and it's frustrating because they know they can do it and they've done it before in practice. They've done it before when nobody is watching, when nobody cares, right?
Yeah.
And they know they can do it, but then the pressure is on. The scouts are watching, the sponsors are there, whatever, and they just buckle under the pressure. And if they can solve that problem, it's not that they can just give more to themselves, but they can also give more to the team. They can give more to the families, the communities, literally everybody who believes in them and ever supported them along the way. It just makes everybody happy. It's like a big win win win.
Yeah.
And so that's like the thing that I help them with. And what we do is we use spirituality, and that's what I call the quantum in the sports psychology.
Mm,
Use spirituality to bring the mind in the present moment, right? Because everybody that you ask and all the world's best, they will always say, and that doesn't matter if they're athletes or business people or parents, they're in the present moment. They're the best version of themselves, right? You're nodding, yeah,
yeah.
when we're here.
Yeah.
And worry, overthinking, doubt, like all these things come from the mind not being in the present, like either in the future or in the past. And with spirituality, you can just make that.
Absolutely. And I love that concept, because in the work that I do with my clients and with the organizations that I'm with, I tell them all the time 99% of our distress comes from worrying about the past and fretting about the future. And the only thing that does is ruin the present moment and our effectiveness in the present moment. And so I love the fact that you are working with athletes in this way to help them to be successful. And you talk about performance under pressure. That doesn't just apply to athletes, that applies to anyone. And if you're able to work with someone who can almost get excited when pressure is coming because they know how to manage it. And a lot of people don't know how to manage it. So people who can really manage their stress, who can manage the challenges and really work well under pressure, are excited when those kind of challenges come up, because I think they know that other people won't be able to function as well as they'll be able to. So having that skill set, I think, is invaluable. Can you speak a little bit to what kind of qualities you think someone who handles pressure well has, or what kind of mentality they actually hold?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's curiosity in the end of the day. It's just the willingness and the curiosity to learn about it. Because I mean, that's the cool thing with sport. We all grow up as babies, and
Yeah.
nobody can throw a basketball. Nobody can swing the golf club. Nobody, knows
Yeah.
how to swing the tennis racket. We all start the same. We may have like some physical attributes that are better for long jump and or weightlifting or whatever, but in the end it comes down to what's in here, right? The mindset. And I think that's just, we just got to learn it. Just be like, okay, there's more than what I know. Don't be proud of yourself, and be curious and find out what other people who've walked the path before you, what they have done, and
Mm.
then just learn and apply. I think that's.
Yeah, and it sounds like what you're talking about here too is kind of that mental preparation, that knowing what's going to come, being curious about what you don't know, being humble in that sense, but also kind of prepping yourself that A, B, and C will likely happen, and there may be a D, E, and F that's going to kind of fall on you at the same time. What will you do when that happens, and how will you manage yourself, and how will you walk forward? And it sounds like that's the kind of work that you're doing with the athletes. Is that
Yeah, I
is that
think yeah, you're right. And there's one it's a very interesting, it's a very interesting thing when you acknowledge what could happen, right? When you acknowledge, even if it's the worst case, you just say, well, yeah, that could happen.
Yeah.
You take out the power of it, because when you fight it and you're like scared of it, you give it more power. It's like, I mean, back in the days, now, thank God I have a beautiful girlfriend and all that. But back in the days, I mean, that's like a lot of guys can resonate with that. If you see a hot girl in the bar, it's like, okay, should I approach her? And then you start hesitating and you don't go, right? Because it could happen that she'll reject you.
Yeah.
But when you acknowledge that from the beginning and say, well, yeah, that could happen, you just take the wind out of the sail. And it's almost like, have you had a situation when you were worrying about something so much
Mm.
that when it actually happened, you were relieved? You're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
right, me too. But how crazy is that? It's like we are happy when the worst case actually happens, because then at least we know.
Yeah.
So it's the same principle. It's just acknowledging, saying, yeah, that could go wrong, that
Yeah.
could happen. And for the brain, it's kind of like it's already as if it happened, and it's like cool to move forward freely then. And I think vulnerability is that, right? To say,
Yeah.
well, yeah, it could go bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And kind of, I think we do this a lot too, is we look at things as if the most terrible thing in the world is going to happen. And 9 times out of 10, like you're saying, it doesn't actually occur. It doesn't actually happen. That worst thing never really comes to light. Usually it's we're making a mountain out of a molehill and kind of storytelling in our own brain, making it worse, which is the reason that we hold back, right? The reason that we're not trying, because we're creating this negative story inside of our heads, which I think is so true. So let me ask you this: is there a time in your career, either swimming or in banking or as a mindset coach, where you felt like you were struggling or things weren't going your way, and how did you manage it? How did you set yourself up for success or change the way that you were thinking to be more successful?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, many times. Hey, but I think the one that was most significant for me was when I was in the corporate world, because I went into a victim role and I started to blame other people. Because, like, think about it, in swimming, when you swim and you do something, you change something, it's working well, then you're like, okay, you do more of that, right? And it's not working, you do something else. And the feedback is very direct. You always have feedback, you know where you are. And then in the big corporation, all of a sudden you have your boss, you have your colleagues, you have the bank as a whole, you have the economy as a whole. There's so many variables that are going on that I did something and nothing happened. And
Mm,
I started to slip into that victim role unconsciously, right? It's not I chose it, but and I started blaming other people, and I grew more and more unhappy. I went out, did the classic, late night out, lots of drinking and all that. And then I changed the bank and it happened again. And I think at the low point, it's just that thought, that hope is there's got to be something else. This cannot be, I was happy when I was a swimmer. I was happy when I was a kid. Now I'm like a grown man. I have money and like I can do what I want basically. And I'm unhappy. What is going on? And I think that question, that
mm,
was the seed for, and then all of a sudden everything started to happen. People came in my life. I mean, you know how it is, right? All of
yeah,
a sudden you attract the people.
yeah, absolutely. And I don't think people give enough credit to the energy that we hold as individuals and how we can create our own reality. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about, is that when we spin those negative stories and, like you said, kind of have that victim role, nothing's my fault, everything is happening to me, and I'm the victim here, then you don't have ownership of anything. You don't have any power in your life. You're not able to kind of take the step forward that you need to, because you're waiting for someone to come and rescue you, or someone else to fix the mistakes that have happened or the challenges that you have. And so I love that. I love that you in that moment were able to take that step back and reflect on it. And the other thing that I think is so interesting is that you're so right about the sports thing. When you're playing a sport, when you're swinging and your coach is looking at you, if you're playing baseball, if you're swimming and they're watching your stroke, you get very direct, specific feedback, and you know exactly what to change, when to change it, how to change it. That doesn't happen in real life. Things are a lot more gray, and there's a lot more kind of fluidity there that we kind of have to figure out ourselves. So I think mindset is even more important in those moments in some instances, because we've got to figure a lot of it out for ourselves. Do you go ahead?
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting point. And you know what I see, there's a lot of parallels between sports and business and being a parent and all that.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference. If you think about it in sports, the pie is that big, and that pie is going to be distributed amongst the players and amongst the athletes, because there's only one first place, there's only one second place. You know where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
But when we're talking business, when we're talking being a parent, when we're being a lover, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, whatever, that pie we can make that pie bigger. So it doesn't have to be distributed. So that gives us a lot more opportunities actually to, and yeah,
I
it's,
love that. I
yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
you know, when you think about it, we can literally, there's no limit to what we can create with corporation and cooperation.
Yeah.
But in sports, it's different. There's just that pie and it's distributed, and that's it.
Yeah. So there's maybe a lot more opportunity individually in executive in the world of work for us to be really create our own pie, right? And to kind of move forward in the way that we want to, and a little bit more flexibility there. I do see that, and I thank you for that insight. What do you think when you think about someone who's has to have a successful mindset? What do you think is, can you think of, I know you said curiosity before is super important, but in terms of like a daily mindset, how do you help people set that up? Like, what are the strategies that you use, or the the skills that you think are important in terms of like a daily mindset and showing up to your day?
Yeah. Wow, such a good question. So it's for me, it's about, and that's why I use the spirituality a lot, because for me, it's about letting go in the sense that you become guided. Um, that you know, because you see, if you imagine somebody, and there's a parallel between swinging a golf club. So a lot of people take lessons, and they have so many how to's. Keep your wrist like this, your weight there, your eyes there, and they start to think, and
Yeah.
they're trying to work everything out. And what that does is it clogs your natural abilities, and your natural abilities are a million times more powerful than what you can ever work out with your mind.
Mm,
Ever. And that's the same in life. If you think you got to work everything out and it's got to be like this and then that and then that, you know, if it doesn't happen exactly like that, you're going to be disappointed. You compare and so on. And when you're guided, you hold your vision. And that's what we do. Every day I have my athletes tune into the vision of what it is that they want in terms of like visualization. And then I'll also have them add the current reality where they are today in comparison to the vision, because you know the law of attraction, right? A
yeah.
lot of I mean, it works and it's cool, but a lot of people, you know, these new age spiritual people that say, "Oh, life is all unicorns and rainbows," and they have the fridge magnets, and life is abundant, everything comes to me flowing, and they sniff the dollar bills, and they're poor as fuck.
Yeah.
It's because they're delusional. They're just tuning into the vision, but they're not incorporating where they are today. And that's it's like a GPS. You need to have a destination, but you also need to know where you are today. And that creates a tension, like a creative force. And
Mm,
if you can hold that tension, you'll start to create, and the universe will throw you like like a bone, and
yeah.
then it's on you to like, oh, you know, that aligns with my vision. Let me go check it out. Let me talk to that person, and then one thing leads to the other, and it's working itself out better than you could
Yeah.
ever think about, right?
Yeah, no, I love it. And I think that that is such a hard concept for people to hold on to. It's like let go and trust your gut and trust intuition, and just put that energy out there and stay focused on it and align yourself with this vision, and things will come. And I think that people think they have to kind of get on a hamster wheel and just keep spinning, which, like you said, can kind of clog their brain, because that's worrying about the future, worry and worry, 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 and fretting about the past, which I totally agree with you.
So what tips do you have to get on that, you know, the universe is good train or whatever we want to call it.
Yeah, this is why I really loved researching everything that you're doing, because we have so many similarities. I do the very same thing, and in step 6 of the work I do with people is about creating that ideal image. What does that person look like? What are they doing? How are they behaving? What are they feeling? What are they thinking? How are they interacting with other people? How are people reacting to them? And what are they making decisions in terms of finances, in terms of relationships, in terms of communication, in terms of education, career? What specifically is this person doing? And then I have them visualize the advice that this person would give to them. What would this person say you need to do today in order to take that first step forward? And that's a meditation I do with people. And I love doing that, because most of the time when people come out of that meditation, they're like, wow, that was really cool. And I say, now you are that person. That person is no longer in the future. That person is now. And you are walking forward as that person. Let's make a plan for today. And then we walk forward from there, which for me has always been very powerful with, and mindset and staying in the present moment, and paying attention to all of that. So that's why I was so excited when I was reading about you. I thought, oh, we do a lot of similar things. And it's just good stuff, because if you wake up in the morning and you have that mindset and you're able to extrapolate out the little things that you can do, you don't have to change 180 degrees one day. It's 1 degree of difference that down the road, 5 miles down the road, is going to bring you to a much different destination. So that's why I was excited, because I know that you do a lot of similar stuff with your athletes and your clients.
Yeah, wow, that's beautiful. Hey, and I think also, right, one thing that I had to learn, and it was good that I'm still learning, but
Yeah,
I
we
think
all are.
yeah, we all do it, right? But I think I got the point is like that you just said it, like it's small steps.
Mm,
Because and I mean, there's all these good quotes out there that even the longest march starts with one step or whatever. And but now I really know what they mean, because it's so easy to get ahead of ourselves and then compare with, like, if you want to be a coach and you compare to Tony Robbins, it's like, well, he has this and this and it. Well, but we forget in that moment where he's coming from. And that's why I love
okay.
these podcasts or researching, books and articles where they describe what they went through, because you read it's like, well, I'm right there. I'm right there. It's
Absolutely.
all good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's relatable, right? I mean, we need to know that we see someone who's successful, and it's not just there was an overnight success and they didn't struggle at all and everything was handed to them. We have to work for it. And yes, there's a dream you can have. There's an American dream. There's a
Swiss dream.
Swiss dream, whatever everybody's got the dream, right? But you have to take active participation in that dream. You're not just jumping on a boat and there's another captain. You are the captain, and you've got to decide, if you're at 180 degrees, due east, and you need to go 182 degrees, then what is that 2 degrees of difference? And can you implement that every day? Can you do that every day? So I love that. And I know that you just got off of a week long seminar. Weren't you doing a week long seminar? Was this with your athletes, or can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think that people would probably love to join you on some of those, and tell us a little bit about what those are about.
Yeah, so that was actually not for athletes. That was for regular people, right? Just everybody. But honestly, like this is what I love doing. I don't care if you're an athlete, or I just love people. And
Yeah.
whoever wants this kind of stuff, like, I'm happy to help. I'm sure, like you are, and a lot of other, people with cool dreams and intentions want, right? And that was a 5-day seminar, and it's all online. It's 8 hours a day with coffee breaks and lunch break, and it's really cool. And it's about mastering the human journey. And that particular training, was a lot about getting to know yourself. And that work is, if you do that work, then everything else is a walk in the park. Because there's a lot of people that they want to develop their intuition and all that, but they have all these ideas, but they don't get anything done. And
Mm.
we call that, excuse the term, but we call it spiritual wanking, because everybody has ideas. Just having ideas doesn't mean anything. You actually have to then take action. And also, that's what I was alluding to in the beginning. You have to know where you're coming from. Are you coming from a place of lack, trying to compensate for something that you feel you don't have? Like if you think you're not worthy, if you think
Mm.
you're not good enough or don't belong, and you just take action, perpetual action, literally until you die, to try to compensate for that, then it's not coming from your heart. It's like a negative vision. If you grew up poor and you say, I don't want to be poor, then it's a negative vision. You're running away from something. You'll never be as powerful as if you connect with your heart and then go for that. And so
Absolutely.
that was a lot of personality work, because pure creative spirit is one side of us, but at the same time, there's a personality that,
Yeah.
yeah, some program that we took on, right, with
Yeah.
limitations. And yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. You should come to Italy with me in April when I'm doing my new life retreat, because I think that it's the same thing. It's working on that personality, the understanding of who you are as a person, because that's the genius of how you show up to your day, and all those beliefs that you have that work for you at times, and then other times really knock you down and only serve to be a barrier for you. So I love that. I want to ask you one last question before we talk about how people can get in touch with you. In all the work that you've done in your life, and either business or outside of business, what are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of? Wow. I don't know. Got
Just
me there. Can I just tell you what really excites me?
yeah, let's say that. What really excites you?
It's the feedback from people. It's when I actually, it's not just what they say. It's more when I see what they do. So let's say they were coaching with me half a year ago and continue to coach, and then I see, okay, we talked about this half a year ago, and now you are just had a football player. He got called to the national team of Bulgaria. That's like
Mhm.
a lot of footballers' dream, right? To soccer, to be called up for your national team. And he's going to play in Switzerland, and my friends and I were going to go watch him. So
Awesome.
that's something, that when I think about it, that is freaking cool. And I think that's why I do what I do. And so yeah, when they create what they love.
Yeah, it excites you, and it also sounds like you're really proud of the relationships that you have made with people and the success that you've helped them to create in their own lives, which I think is awesome. I think you're doing amazing work, David, and I think it is changing the world, one athlete, one group at a time. And we know that positive energy is so much stronger and powerful than negative energy is any day. So I thank you for the work that you're doing, and I so much enjoyed talking with you today, and I thank you for being here. If people want to get in touch with you, we have a couple of ways that they can do that, right? We've got your website, davidkarasek.com. We also have LinkedIn. They can get in touch with you there. And your email, if someone really wants to directly contact you about coaching, it's david@davidkarasek.com. Any other last words that you have for our guests watching today?
Yeah, I just want to thank you. You're doing wonderful work, and I'm very inspired by podcasts. I listen to podcasts and shows like all the time when I do workouts, and sometimes I'm much more inspired by listening to a podcast of somebody who's maybe just a few weeks or a few years ahead, than instead of listening to the huge podcast, with millions, where it's like the best in the world. Is like this is sometimes so daunting and maybe not even that useful, because again, those people that are close to you can sometimes hold your hand better. So phenomenal work. I have a lot of admiration for you and what you do. So keep it up and spread those empowering vibes. Hi.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being here and doing the same. I look forward to connecting in the future. And thank you again, everybody, for tuning in today to the Mindset Monday podcast. Click the subscribe button if you want to see more like this, and send comments. And I will certainly answer all the questions if we haven't gotten back to you today. Thank you again, David, for being here. And everybody have a great week. Take care.